My wife cheated on me with 2 guys, so I took my revenge quietly part 2. Quick reminder, this is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, watch it first for full context. It's linked in the description. Now, let's dive back in. Update. After the emails went out and the silence settled in, things started shifting in subtle but undeniable ways. Tracy didn't know I'd done anything. She didn't know that 2 of her secret lives had just imploded. But the ripple effect was already hitting her. She became restless, pacing the apartment when she thought I wasn't looking. Her phone barely left her hand. She started locking herself in the bathroom longer, muttering through tense conversations, emerging with forced smiles that didn't reach her eyes. At dinner, she'd pick at her plate and pretend to be interested in my stories from work. But I could tell her mind was somewhere else. The confidence she'd carried over the past few weeks, the spark she flaunted when she was sneaking around, it was gone. Replaced by panic hiding behind smudged eyeliner and deflected questions. Then came the call. I didn't answer it, but I saw the screen flash with Ethan's name just once. She declined it quickly, then turned off her phone altogether. She knew something was falling apart. I acted like I noticed none of it. Everything okay? I asked over coffee the next morning. She nodded, said she was just tired. I offered to take her out to dinner that weekend and she said she'd have to check her rehearsal schedule. There was no rehearsal. I knew it. And now she was starting to realize I might know it too. That Friday, I decided it was time to widen the circle. I made copies of the same file I'd sent to Mark's wife and Ethan's girlfriend. This time, I sent them anonymously to the director of Tracy's theater group and to the organizer of the acting classes she had been taking. It wasn't out of revenge, it was about clarity. These people had a right to know what was happening in their professional spaces. Relationships that bleed into rehearsals ruin casts, and Tracy was the bleeding edge. Within a day, the director posted a message in the group's private page, "We'll be reviewing conduct policies over the weekend." Tracy came home that evening shaking. "They put the show on pause," she said, eyes wide. "They're looking into stuff." I kept my expression blank. I nodded. I listened. "That's strange," I said. "Wonder what brought that on." She watched me closely for a reaction. I gave her nothing. Because this wasn't about catching her in a trap. It was about showing her that the world she'd built outside our marriage wasn't untouchable. And it was only the beginning. The collapse came faster than I anticipated. Within days of the theater group freezing rehearsals, Tracy's world started caving in piece by piece. It wasn't just the acting circle anymore, it was her friends pulling away, the cast group chat going silent, her classmates choosing to sit farther from her during workshops. She was unraveling, and I didn't have to lift another finger. Every evening brought a new version of her. Some nights she was apologetic, clinging tighter than usual, offering to cook or run errands, trying to be the wife I remembered. Other nights she was distracted, paranoid, snapping at little things, convinced the world was turning on her. And in a way it was. Still, I didn't confront her. I didn't gloat. I just let it all happen. I started sleeping in the guest room, blaming late nights and early meetings. She never questioned it. I think part of her was grateful not to have to share a bed with someone she feared might be slipping away. Then one afternoon everything came to a head. I came home early from work. Tracy was on the phone in the kitchen, her voice hushed but heated. I stayed out of view and listened. "No, you don't get to be angry now. You knew what this was. I didn't promise you anything permanent." A pause. "Because my husband still thinks we're fine and I'm not throwing it all away over this." My chest tightened. There it was, the lie still clinging to life. I walked into the room calmly. She turned, startled, pale. "Hey," I said. "Who were you talking to?" She stammered. "Said it was a friend." Changed the subject. I nodded, poured a glass of water, and said nothing more. That night, I sent her a message not in person but by email. A file with every piece of evidence I'd collected, neatly laid out, titled, "For When You're Ready to Be Honest." She read it around midnight. I heard her crying through the walls. She didn't come to bed. I didn't check on her. The next morning, she tried to speak, but I stopped her. I told her there was no need for explanations. That this wasn't about punishment, it was about reality. I told her I'd already spoken to a lawyer. That I'd be moving forward quietly. That I had no interest in drama, only distance. She didn't fight it. She just nodded, eyes red, voice gone. In the end, it wasn't the truth that broke her. It was being exposed for who she really was without the script, the stage, or the sympathetic audience. Update. It's been 6 months since Tracy and I signed the divorce papers. We didn't fight over much. I kept the apartment. She took her car and a few pieces of furniture she'd always liked. There was no long courtroom drama. No angry outbursts. Just quiet, civil closure, probably the most honest thing we ever managed together. After everything, I didn't feel victorious. This wasn't a win. It was survival. The emails I sent to the other partners, the director, the acting coach, they triggered a chain of endings. Ethan's girlfriend broke up with him. Mark's wife filed for separation. Tracy's theater group removed her from the lead role she was chasing, and the class she once loved grew distant. Her world got smaller, just like mine had when I first discovered the truth. But unlike her, I didn't cling to the wreckage. I focused on rebuilding. Quietly. Gradually. I started freelancing more, then landed a job with a local creative agency that actually valued what I brought to the table. I moved my workspace into the sunroom, filled it with plants and light. I started running in the mornings again, something I hadn't done in years. And most surprisingly, I started painting. Not for money. Not for anyone else. Just for me. I haven't spoken to Tracy since the papers were signed. She sent one message, a short email apologizing for everything, telling me she hoped I'd find someone better. I never replied. Not because I hate her, but because I no longer carry her mistakes with me. And maybe that's what real revenge looks like, not ruining someone else's life, but freeing yourself from their influence altogether. Looking back, I realize I spent so much time holding space for someone who was never going to meet me halfway. I invested love, support, belief, and in return I got performance. A hollow version of intimacy. But now I know better. I know what it feels like to choose yourself. So here's the final update. I'm okay. Truly okay. And for the first time in years, I'm no longer living in someone else's shadow. Honestly, this wasn't a story about cheating, it was a story about erosion. Not just of trust, but of identity. What hit me most was how long he stayed patient even when he had every reason to flip the table. There's something brutal but deeply admirable about someone who chooses quiet accountability over chaos. He didn't destroy her because he was angry. He let her destroy herself by simply letting the truth speak for itself. And when it was all said and done, he didn't gloat. He got out? That's not just revenge. That's growth. Do you think silence can be more powerful than confrontation? Would you have handled it the same way? I'd love to hear what you would have done if someone betrayed you like this. Hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. Help this small channel grow by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. Every bit of support means the world. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.